It all starts with the grand finals to decide the strongest player in the game called ERA. The announcer calls the showdown between Lin Jie, the War King, and Baili, the Sword Saint. Just then, Lin Jie charges forward with his flaming sword against his opponent's bluish blade. This is the War King, the #1 berserker in the game, and his movements are flawless. Every strike from the berserker aims right for his adversary's weak spots, like a fiend. With that, the defense of Baili, the #1 ranked swordsman, finally breaks. This gives Lin Jie a huge advantage, as his opponent can no longer fight back. The Sword Saint's HP is critically low, and the fight is about to be decided. Then, the War King prepares to land the finishing blow on his rival. With a smile on his face, he declares that this time, victory is finally his. Fallen on the ground, the swordsman seems to accept his inevitable defeat. But suddenly, the blonde-haired fighter refuses to lose the battle so easily. He then wonders how he could possibly be defeated at this very moment. A red energy appears, and he says that all of Lin Jie's effort will be for nothing. Next, the Sword Saint activates infinite durability for his broken weapon. His sword repairs itself, and he spends 500,000 to activate super speed. With absurd speed, the blonde-haired fighter rushes toward his opponent. The War King instantly realizes his opponent is using some kind of cheat. Using his cheats, the swordsman starts to overwhelm the berserker with everything he's got. The protagonist can't react in time and ends up getting knocked away. Baili says that effort alone doesn't change fate, and that Lin Jie would never understand. The War King can barely see the cheater's movements because he's so fast. New cheats are activated, like teleportation and even a sudden defeat strike. He is hit, and the system warns that his account will be permanently removed. In his final moments, the young man asks why his best friend betrayed him. He wants to know why Baili chose to use cheats rather than lose to him fairly. With a serious look, the swordsman simply apologizes to his former friend and even says that in the next life, they can be brothers again. Soon after, an alert notifies that Lin Jie has lost access to the game, and the system reboots. His character begins to fade away as he laments his defeat. He refuses to accept this, as he was born at the bottom of society with no money or power. But the young man believed that, if he fought with all his might, he could change his own destiny. With his own 2 hands, the young man climbed to the top of the game's rankings. He was just one step away from reaching the throne of the strongest of all. In this final battle, the berserker risked everything, even his own life, and yet, in the end, he ended up losing everything miserably. The young man swears that if he could live again, he would rise to the top no matter what. He then screams in his mind that he's not willing to accept this defeat. Suddenly, a bright light appears, and he wakes up back in his real body. The young man is out of breath and completely confused about what just happened. He wonders where he is, and if this is really his own room. The girl then asks why he's on the floor, pretending he's been knocked out. At that moment, Lin Jie recognizes the young woman and realizes she's his younger sister. This is strange because 3 years ago, his sister was in an accident and fell into a coma. She was only surviving on life support, and he paid for everything with money from the game. So the young man wonders why on earth she's standing there in front of him now. He holds onto her and asks if she's okay, because she's supposed to be in the hospital. His sister gets annoyed and says he's fried his brain playing games all night. Confused, he asks what the date and year are. She says it's the open beta for ERA, and he realizes he's gone back 5 years in time. With this, the young man realizes it's not a dream, and that he's truly been reborn. He remembers the despair he felt when he was betrayed by his best friend. But fate has given him a new chance, both in his life and in the game. Now, the young man has the opportunity to start everything over from square one. This time, he swears he will reach the top of ERA, no matter what it takes. He pools his savings with a loan to buy a new helmet. The VR game ER was a huge hit because its world evolved with the players. In that world, he was known as the immortal war god. The berserker became an idol for free, to play players for relying only on his skill. He was one step away from glory, but his friend gave into the power of cheating. His friend became the enemy who betrayed him and stopped him from reaching the top of the game. He then decides that thinking about it is useless and that he will focus on his second chance. With the helmet on, he swears he won't let the same regrets happen again. A welcome screen appears, and a bright light completely surrounds him. Now, the system asks him to choose a class to join the other players. Back then, there were no guides, so players explored everything on their own. However, for him, who came from the future, the game holds no more secrets to uncover. Because of this, his advantage is knowing the best strategies and exploration spots. He then promises to reach the peak of power and become the strongest in the game. Full of confidence, he declares that the king of pure skill is back. He then appears in the bustling square of the starter village. Some players mock him, saying the warrior class is the worst of all. His stats show he's just a level 1 warrior with no gear. With a smile, he thinks that even after coming back in time, he's still the same. A memory from 2 years ago surfaces, showing an old battle he fought. In this flashback, we see a gigantic army of monsters preparing to attack. He confidently states that even if he had to start over, he would still choose to be a warrior. His old friend Baili used to say that only the weakest players choose that class. The blonde guy explains that this class doesn't use spells and can't afford expensive gear. With that, the swordsman concludes that warriors are just cannon fodder in battles. Baili then suggests he choose the swordsman class for being elegant and deadly, but the protagonist believes in the path of warriors, who grow stronger against powerful enemies. He says that only by surviving every crisis can one earn the right to become something greater, and with that, he managed to become the immortal war god, the strongest in the game. This title can only be obtained by a player who has never been defeated in battle. With a smile on his face, the berserker proposes a bet to his old friend. The swordsman then gets curious and asks what the bet would be about. The flashback ends, and he says that even after returning, he is still the immortal war god. He thinks about his class's advantages, like high HP and future advancements. That's why the young man stands firm in his choice, as he knows what to do next. The warrior remembers that in the future, he will become a berserker who uses health as power. He knows that players who spend money only care about damage and appearance. Classes like swordsman, hunter, and assassin are much more popular in the beginning. Because of this, almost all groups are formed with only these damage-dealing classes. But he knows that in the early stages, the monsters are too strong for these fragile classes. However, with his knowledge, he can easily compensate for his class's weaknesses. Just then, a new quest appears for him, and the objective is to find a person named Outright. With only 5 minutes left, he finds the NPC who is the guide for newcomers. The young man is surprised to see the old man again, and it brings back many memories. But while he was reminiscing, another player bumps into him and calls him a trash warrior. The guy who pushed him is a level 2 paladin and demands a coin to let him pass. The warrior finds this strange because the server only opened half an hour ago, and the other guy has already leveled up. Then he remembers an experience pack that can be bought with real money. These players use their level advantage to take money from newcomers with threats, but the protagonist knows they are just paper tigers because they don't know how to play. The newcomer's reward is 10 coins, so paying one wouldn't be a big problem. Even so, the war god wonders why the heck he should give the guy any money. The paladin gets angry, says it's because he's stronger, and moves into attack. But the former number 1 player blocks the strike with his bare hand quite easily. The attacker is in shock because he can't move a single muscle against the newcomer. Then a notification appears, revealing the hero's innate talent called grip amplification. The bully recognizes the skill and calls it useless, because it's only good for holding a weapon. With a confident smile, the young man says that it might be useless to the paladin, but not to him. A powerful aura emerges, and he claims that this is the strongest talent of all for him. The attacker falls to the ground, crying for being disarmed so easily by a newcomer. The warrior explains that the talent allows him to parry basic attacks with his hands, and if his strength is greater than the opponent's, he can use a counter attack to disarm them. With this, he realizes the bully didn't put any points into strength and is just an idiot. But what the other guy doesn't know is that this ability evolves into one of the strongest in the game. It becomes tightens grip, which allows him to wield two-handed swords with just one hand. At that moment, the city guards arrive, and the other players start to disperse. The paladin then accuses the warrior of attacking him in a safe zone to the guards. Surrounded by level 5 guards, the protagonist calmly admits he did it. The bully is happy and asks the guards to punish the young man very severely, but to the attacker's surprise, he says it was just an act of self-defense. The guy gets confused and doesn't understand what he means by self-defense. He panics and yells that he's a VIP player who spent a lot of money on the game. The warrior knows that whoever attacks first in the city is considered the culprit by the NPCs, and with that, the guards deal with the paladin for starting the fight in the square. Then the system forces the guard to give the young man 1 coin as compensation. With the coin in hand, he thinks it's nice to receive a reward for the incident. Turning to the group, he says with a smile that he accepts their apology. He then faces the bully's friends, who were still surrounding him in the square. The young man asks if they are also going to give him coins or if they'll make way. The other players are intimidated by the newcomer's attitude and back away. With the path clear, the warrior can finally go to his objective. The quest is updated, and he approaches the old man to get his reward. Getting closer, the young man greets him, saying it's been a long time since they've seen each other. The NPC is confused and asks how they know each other if the game is new. The hero says they saw each other 5 years ago, and the guide thinks it's a joke. Even so, he offers the 3 newcomer reward options to the player. The others nearby think it's obvious that the best choice is the coins, but the protagonist surprises everyone and says he chooses option 4. The newcomer guide is shocked and asks where he got that option from. The warrior then recites a secret code to activate the hidden reward. The old man turns pale and asks where he heard those secret words. He continues the poem, talking about the dark moon and the rebirth of the gods. In the end, he asks if the NPC still remembers the code that he himself gave him. A memory from 5 years ago shows that he protected the guide's family. In the past, outright thanked him but said he had no way to repay him. But the NPC gave him a password in case he needed help in the future. The old man promised that even if he moved, he would still remember his savior. Back in the present, the guide realizes who he is, and the secret quest is activated. With that, the 4th reward option for a veteran player appears for him. He remembers that he lost everything to a dirty trick in his past life. The young man thinks that injustice is the norm in the world, but he refuses to accept it. He then receives an initial talent stone that binds to his account. The other players are shocked, because this is an extremely rare gem in the game. The protagonist knows he needs to start in the best way possible to succeed. For his second talent, he chooses the Oath of the Sword to change his destiny. The guide explains that this talent was created by a legendary sword saint. The NPC asks if he's sure, and the warrior confirms his choice without hesitation. Other players mock him for picking a sword talent that is considered trash. But the old man says that the strongest weapon is not the sword, but the one who wields it. The young man thanks the guide named Adelaide for the valuable gift he received. He thinks that in his other life, he only got the talent at level 30, and now he has it at the start. The advantage of those who pay to level up fast completely vanishes after level 5. But if a player relies only on their skill, a simple sword is more than enough. He knows that swords don't have the raw power of other weapons, like axes or spears. However, what others don't realize is that this is the weapon that truly requires the most technique. His original plan was to get the grip talent and an iron sword to start leveling up, but this time he got the secret reward and ended up leaving empty-handed. With this, the young man realizes that things have changed and his path will be different. He wonders if, with new choices, the end of his story with Baili will also change. That's why he vows to become much stronger to rewrite his destiny. Leaving there, he finds a group of players selling starter gear. A guy in a hut approaches and asks what kind of trash they are selling there. The aggressor looks at the items and throws them all on the ground, saying it's a bunch of junk. Among the items, the warrior notices a wooden club with both a sword and mace tag. He finds this interesting because the weapon fits into 2 different categories. With a surprised look, The former champion gets a brilliant idea for using that item. The seller begs the bully to leave him alone, because he makes a living from this, but the guy just calls him a coward for being a life skills player. Then the protagonist intervenes, saying that players like him are essential to the game. He asks for the price of the club, and the seller says it costs only 1 copper coin. The aggressor asks who he is, and the young man introduces himself as Lin Jie, the warrior. The bully laughs at him, but the hero buys the weapon with the coin he got from the paladin. The guy in the hood gets furious that he spoiled his fun of intimidating others. The warrior ironically asks if what he was doing was a good deed. The bully smiles and says the newcomer was tricked and bought a piece of trash. The hooded guy calls the seller a scammer and says the warrior is an idiot. With an air of superiority, the aggressor and his friend leave the square. The protagonist knows that wooden clubs are useless, and nobody wants them even for free. This scam became a classic at the beginning of the game to trick newcomers. But he's not a newcomer, and as a war god, his instinct never fails him. A normal weapon would never have both sword and mace categories at the same time. With a smile, he realizes that the club is actually an unidentified artifact. He then equips the wooden club and opens his status screen to check it. His stats show that he is a level 1 warrior with no special equipment. Suddenly, a world quest is activated to protect the city from a monster attack. He remembers that the city of Mel is on the front lines of the plague cataclysm. In his past life, this city was destroyed by the demon army 1 year later. Some level 2 players are already running to the north gate to gain experience, but the guards stop them, telling them to go to the other gates to take down weak monsters. The warrior ignores the warning and tells the guards to let him pass without any trouble. He says he's looking for opponents of his level to test his skills. The young man adds that even if they are a higher level, he doesn't care at all. With that, his reputation goes up, and the guards open the gate for him to pass. The game has a secret system that rewards players who accept difficult challenges. The captain of the guard then stops him and offers him a special side quest. With a confident smile, he thinks that he got the quest he wanted even at level 1. The captain says his men are trapped and asks him to recover their bodies. The protagonist knows he can change the city's future if he accepts this quest. He then says they don't need a funeral because the newcomer Slayer can be defeated. For that, he needs to keep his level low to face the area's boss. Using his knowledge, he knows he can defeat a powerful boss even at level 1. The captain is shocked to hear his name and wonders how the newcomer knows him. The warrior promises to bring the soldiers back and save the city from destruction, but the captain thinks it's impossible and asks him not to risk his life in vain. With a determined look, the young man says that he himself is the miracle the city needs. Leaving the gate, he sees a cemetery and wonders if there's already red stuff everywhere. With a smile on his face, he thinks this sense of danger is simply perfect. The warrior knows that ERA is a difficult game, but that it attracts many players nonetheless. As he gets closer, he sees a group of players looking for a tank for their team. He thinks that for normal players, the best strategy is to join a group. One of the players recognizes him and calls him the big idiot who got scammed earlier. The group then makes fun of him for still holding the small wooden club. Not paying much attention to the guys, the young man just finds them annoying and boring. Another player questions if he really intends to face the monsters alone. The group continues to mess with him and says he'll be begging for a group when he gets taken down. The former champion knows that playing solo gives 5 times more rewards than in a group. Suddenly, the knight tries to punch him, but the warrior blocks the attack easily. The attacker is thrown back and is completely confused about what just happened. The hero notices that the guy's body is fragile and that his talent is fiery retribution. This talent seems strong, but it actually leaves him with a body as fragile as paper. With this, he concludes that the knight is just a coward who hides behind others. The knight then backs away, and the warrior calls him a complete coward in his thoughts. At that moment, a level 2 demon notices the presence of the group of players. The knight draws the monster's attention and leads it straight toward the protagonist. He realizes the guy did it on purpose to try to eliminate him with the monster. He then runs because he knows this will be a good warm-up for what's to come. The knight's group laughs, thinking he's scared and frozen with fear. But with a focused gaze, the warrior can clearly see what he needs to do. He perfectly sees the trajectory of the demon's axe swing. A perfect dodge notification appears as he dodges the attack by a hair's breadth. The young man thinks that a warrior only becomes stronger when facing peril up close. A red aura surrounds him, and he knows he needs to take risks to be a war god. His hand glows, and he wonders if he will be able to become the strongest in this life. With a swift move, he lands a critical hit on the monster's head with the club. The demon becomes furious, and its attack power increases by 50%. The knight panics and says that advancing now would be a fatal mistake. But the warrior feels he needs to get even closer to the monster to win. He dodges once more and, with a smile, thinks the distance is perfect. Taking advantage of the opening, he lands another critical hit on the demon's chest. The monster screams in pain, and the knight is shocked that he interrupted its attack. In the blink of an eye, he moves forward and prepares for the final blow against the creature. The attack is fast and precise, and the warrior demonstrates all his skill. With a single, well-aimed strike, he finishes off the level 2 demon without difficulty. The solo takedown notification appears, and he gains experience in copper coins. The other players are shocked that he defeated the monster with a club. The knight thinks it was luck, and that he couldn't repeat the feat. The guy in the hood notices his skill and thinks he's a better tester for the game. With a smile, he approaches and invites him to join his group of experts. The warrior looks at the defeated monster and refuses the invitation without a second thought. The guy insists, saying they need 5 people to face the boss. He then sends an invitation for the young man to join his group immediately. The group leader offers to split the rewards 50-50 with him, but the former champion explains that 5 people is just the recommended number, not mandatory. The guy is surprised and asks if he's really thinking about soloing the boss. He tries to convince him, saying his team has the best chance to win. Another player says that in the second phase, the boss summons elite monsters. The protagonist understands they just need a tank, and he is a warrior. The leader tries to play it cool, but the young man knows they really need him. The hooded guy swears that's not why, and that his skill is highly valued. The warrior realizes it's a trap to use him as bait for the boss. The group leader asks if he will accept the proposal or not. To everyone's surprise, the young man accepts the invitation and joins the group. A notification confirms his entry into the group and explains how the difficulty works. With 5 players, the boss enters full power mode, and the rewards increase. He knows that upon completing the quest, the boss will be removed from the game forever. He thinks that if he wants to be the strongest, this reward is essential for his plan. That's why the young man is determined to seize this unique chance and get everything at once. With that, the group finally enters the portal to the dungeon of the boss, Chanter Griffin. His new companions call him an idiot for not conserving his strength before the fight. The knight complains that the chances of getting good items at the start are very low. He knows that on the first day of the game, almost no one gets a green rarity item. At that moment, his wooden club begins to glow and search for a new host. The knight says that monster weapons can't be used by players, so it's useless. He explains that if it were easy to get weapons from monsters, the prices in the game would be absurd, but the club starts to merge with the monster's weapon, leaving the knight confused. The fusion is complete, and the system announces that the branch of the world tree has merged with the weapon. With this, he obtains the demon sword, which has a 99% critical hit rate. The warrior remembers seeing this item at an auction 3 years ago, and it looked like a club. The craziest thing about this artifact is that it can wrap itself around any item. He remembers that the artifact was sold for 100 million, and now he has it in his hands. In the beginning, players are much weaker than monsters because of their equipment. With the branch of the world tree, he can take the monster's weapons and use them. His status is updated, and his attack power and strength increase considerably. Suddenly, a cutscene begins, showing the city guards fighting against the monsters. The boss, Chanter Griffin, appears, and the soldiers prepare for the battle for the city. The group leader warns everyone not to move, as the fight only starts after the cutscene. He explains that after defeating the guards, the boss will enter a rest phase. The leader says he will give the signal to attack, but the hero doesn't want to wait. The warrior then shouts for the soldiers to fall back, because their captain is waiting for them at home. The group leader and the knight are completely shocked by the newcomer's action. Surprised by the order, the soldiers obey and begin to retreat from the lost battle. He says his way of fighting is to start the battle right away, without waiting for cutscenes. One of his companions calls him an idiot for drawing the boss's attention too early. The leader tells everyone to get out of the danger zone and let the warrior be taken down alone. The boss then focuses all its hatred on the one who advanced first, which in this case was him. But he thinks that this time it's not just stubbornness, and that he has a reason for acting this way. The young man knows that if the timeline changes, the direction of the quest might also change. With this, he becomes the butterfly that will change everyone's destiny in his new life. The group leader reveals that the plan is to wait for the boss to eliminate the warrior and then rest. One of the members remembers that the system divides the reward among everyone in the group, but with a smile, the leader says he won't give the newcomer that chance at all. Then the system announces that the leader, named Rex, has removed him from the group immediately. With that, the boss attacks with full force, sending him flying with a powerful blow. With a smile, he realizes his hunch was right from the beginning of the fight. They always use newcomers as bait to lower the difficulty of taking down the boss. However, the hero knows they miscalculated everything, because he is no ordinary player. A red aura surrounds him, and he declares himself a warrior reborn from the inferno itself. The boss seems surprised by the pressure the young man is emitting at that moment. Suddenly, a powerful attack zips past the group leader, who gets startled. The guy is shocked because the sound was like a sonic boom. It was so fast. With a battle cry, the young man charges forward to face the monster head on without fear. His eyes glow with power as he prepares for the decisive confrontation against the enemy. At that moment, he activates the Oath of the Sword to increase his attack power. The others are shocked that he is trading blows evenly with the boss. Suddenly, the creature is enveloped in purple energy and becomes even stronger. A notification warns that the monster has entered its second and most powerful phase. Even with the imminent danger, the warrior stands firm without retreating a single step. The group calls him an idiot and prepares to attack as soon as he hits the ground. The boss then launches a charged strike that causes a gigantic explosion on the spot. The purple energy spreads across the entire battlefield, destroying everything around it. But to everyone's surprise, he withstands the blow with his much despised class. He says that the others don't understand, because not everyone is born with the right to choose. In a flashback, he remembers that the classes were divided by popularity and price. Because of this, poor players could only choose support or cannon fodder classes. He recalls that the warrior class was free and perfect for those who wanted to farm. He realized that holding on to what you have means giving up all other options. The group leader can't believe that a level 1 survived the powerful attack. With that, the hero created a path to become the strongest, even as a poor player. The system reveals that his grip ability allows him to use the sword as a shield. The young man then vows to hold on to this second chance and his sword with everything he has. Taking advantage of the monster's opening, he lands a precise and powerful blow on the enemy. After giving up on other paths, only this road full of new opportunities remained. With a determined look, he shouts that even a god will fall before his strength. The warrior then charges forward with his glowing sword to deliver the final blow to the monster. With all his strength, the former champion rushes the creature to end the fight. A golden ray of light strikes the boss head, on ending the battle once and for all. A notification announces that he has successfully defeated the boss, Chanter Griffin. The monster falls to the ground, and the young man is left breathless after such an intense fight. He knows that taking a hit from the boss is dangerous, but the warrior's HP advantage helps. Even with low health, he got a 500% experience bonus. With that, the protagonist finally levels up to level 2, and his stats improve. The other group is shocked and wonders if what they saw really happened. The leader doesn't understand how the boss's second phase ended before it even began. With this, he completes the quest and gains 200 reputation points in the city of Mel. With the boss's demise, the demon army is removed, and the city returns to peace. The monster's body begins to glow and explodes in a shower of items and coins. The other group says it was luck, and that the hero only won by using some kind of bug. The leader then tells his friends to grab the items, because he thinks he's entitled to them. But one of the guys can't pick up an item, and the system warns that he doesn't have permission. The group member gets furious and shouts, asking why he can't take the item. The leader realizes that since the boss was defeated solo, the items belong only to the victor. With that, the group isn't entitled to anything, because they kicked him out before the battle. Among the items, a golden bell appears, and it's an extremely rare legacy artifact. The warrior is surprised because the boss's exclusive item is quite small. Without wasting time, the protagonist reaches out to grab his well-deserved reward. With that, all the items and coins from the boss fly directly toward him. One of the members of the other group tries to grab a coin, but can't at all. With a smile, he picks up the bag of coins, and the others complain about him taking everything. The group leader then tells his companions to calm down because everything is fine. He explains that according to the game's rules, if a player is taken down, they lose all their items. But one of the guys is worried because the warrior defeated the boss alone and is very strong. Then the group's hunter uses a skill and sees that he only has 3% of his health left. At that, he realizes that any grazing hit could easily eliminate him. The leader then orders everyone to activate PvP mode to attack him without any mercy. With an air of superiority, the group surrounds the young man to steal all his items. He calculates that the 100 coins and the alchemy materials are worth a real fortune. Each coin is worth 12,000 yuan, so the whole bag is worth more than 1,200,000. The leader approaches and ironically congratulates him for proving his skill. But the warrior says that he was the one who broke the agreement and kicked him out on his own. The guy justifies himself by saying they only stayed out because they believed in his strength. He even asks for credit for him managing to solo the boss on 5-person difficulty. Suddenly, a system alert warns that the young man has suffered a grievous wound. His maximum HP is reduced by 90% and his stats are cut in half. The leader reveals that they are the Rogs of Rex, and their motto is to take down monsters and people. Their creed is to cooperate with and betray anyone to get what they want. At that, the group leader turns to the protagonist and threatens him with a serious look. The hunter fires an arrow, and the leader says it's time for him to hand over everything he has. The warrior recognizes the eagle eye skill that was just used against him. This hunter technique increases accuracy and almost never misses in an open field. With a smile, the young man asks what exactly the group leader wants from him now. The guy says he will hand over everything, including the wooden club and his clothes. Then, he will have to walk with nothing through the hill of sinners to be humiliated. The leader laughs, imagining the scene of a warrior with nothing, a complete loser. The group mocks him, saying he's just an idiot at the bottom of society. The former champion just smiles, as he already expected something like this from them. With his sword in hand, he obviously refuses the group's ridiculous proposal. The leader says he's just a stepping stone on the path to becoming truly stronger. With that, he will step on the young man without a second thought and move on without looking back. The warrior then challenges him, saying to bring it on, as he's looking forward to it. Seeing the refusal, the group leader prepares to give the attack order immediately. With a smile, he tells the hunter to eliminate him, and the eagle eye skill is activated. But before the arrow can hit him, the hero activates the power of the golden bell from the boss. A barrier of light appears and blocks the hunter's attack with total perfection. The impact of the arrow with the bell causes an explosion of golden energy on the spot. The group leader complains that he used the legacy artifact he got from the boss. One of the members then asks what the golden bell does, and if it makes the user invincible. The ability doesn't grant invincibility, but it can buy him 1 second of time. The other guy thinks that's useless because 1 second makes no difference in a fight. But the warrior knows that 1 second is the exact time needed to level up a skill. He then uses his skill point to learn the last gasp technique. With this, his health is restored and even surpasses the maximum limit for a warrior. The hunter is shocked to see that his health was fully restored in seconds. With a smile, the former champion asks if they want to see his infernal power up close. The group's mage says not to be afraid, because his sword is still far away, but with absurd speed, the young man charges toward the group of players. The leader is completely shocked by the level 2 warrior's speed. He then lands a powerful punch right in the face of the enemy group's hunter. The blow is so strong that the hunter is sent flying, and the group is startled. The others are stunned by the speed and strength of the warrior who attacked them. The hunter is eliminated with just one punch, and the group is left speechless for a moment. The system announces that his grip ability also improves his unarmed combat. The leader panics and tells the mage to freeze him with an ice blast. With that, the warrior is caught off guard and ends up frozen in place. A knight approaches and says that this ice will be the protagonist's coffin, but he passes the strength check and manages to break the ice prison easily. He then charges forward with a powerful punch directly at the knight who underestimated him. With that, the knight is sent flying and eliminated from the battle once and for all. The mage is shocked because his ice magic couldn't hold him for long. The young man explains that with enough strength, he can simply break any prison, but the mage doesn't understand how he still has so much strength if his stats were supposed to be halved. He then turns and tells the already eliminated hunter to check the warrior's stats. At that moment, the protagonist appears beside him and says he doesn't need to worry about that anymore. With a smile, he reminds him that the hunter was already sent back to the city with one punch. The mage panics and realizes that something is very wrong here. Desperate, the guy starts yelling and accuses him of using some kind of cheat. Upon hearing the word cheater, a painful memory suddenly flashes in his mind. He remembers his old friend Baili, who used cheats to defeat him in the past. Back then, the swordsman said it didn't matter, because he had already lost the fight. The warrior then vows that he will never stoop to that level, no matter what. He grabs the mage and says that trash like him only cry when they can't win anymore. The mage begs for his life and says he'll leave Rex's group right that instant. But the former champion just says it's too late, and his hand begins to glow with power. With a quick and precise strike, he eliminates the last mage of the group without any mercy. Now only the group leader is left to be defeated, and the battle is almost over. The leader says the warrior cut off his own advantage by eliminating his companions. He then reveals that he knows exactly how the warrior class's advantage works in the game. Warriors explode with power when the situation turns against them in a battle. The desperate stand passive increases his stats when he's surrounded by enemies, but this ability needs at least 3 enemies nearby to be activated. The young man then picks up his sword again and prepares for the final confrontation against the leader. The leader reveals he is an executioner, a class specializing in one-on-one combat. With a battle cry, the executioner charges at the warrior for the final battle. Assassins have a passive that lets them attack their opponents. Weak points in battle. Any body part an assassin hits gains a stack of a penalty on the target. A hit to the head blinds the target, and one to the arm can even disarm the enemy. The hero knows that if he gets hit, the executioner's penalties will stack up very quickly. The leader praises his movements and says he's fast even with a heavy sword, but the executioner boasts about his specialty in close quarters combat and moves into attack. He says the warrior will be begging for him to end it all quickly. With a determined look, the young man prepares to use a new strategy against the enemy. He then uses his sword to launch a powerful long-range attack and create distance. The executioner is shocked by his destructive power, even with his stats halved. Even so, the leader believes he will win if the fight becomes a war of attrition. But the warrior calls him an idiot and says he won't drag this fight out for long. With his sword glowing, he charges at the executioner with everything he has. The group leader is completely shocked and panics at the surprise attack. Suddenly, the executioner is defeated, and his body begins to disintegrate in mid-air. He then reappears at the city's crystal, and the system announces that Lin Jie defeated him. At that, his level drops to 2, and his stats are reduced due to the penalty. The executioner realizes that his clothes and gear were stolen from other players. With this, he despairs because the game's rule will make him lose everything he stole. From afar, the leader shouts that he will never forgive the hero for publicly humiliating him. The warrior's attack only sent his body back, but all the items were left behind. One of the group members survived because he had put all his points into defense. He then turns around and comes face to face with the protagonist, who was still on the battlefield. Scared, the knight threatens him and tells him not to come any closer at all. The former champion just asks him to take the clothes back to his leader. He turns to leave and leaves one last message for the executioner and his group. The young man warns that if he finds them again, he'll hunt them until their level hits 0. With a trembling voice, the knight stammers and says he understood the message perfectly. Fear takes over the knight, who can barely stand in the face of that threat. A wave of nausea rises in his throat, and he can no longer control himself. He then covers his mouth with his hand to avoid throwing up right there from sheer terror. The knight falls to his knees, completely broken, and with no strength left to fight. He wonders how someone can have such great power that it surpasses the game's numbers. The aura around him makes him look like a war god who has returned from the inferno. He gains 300 reputation, and the city will even build a statue in his honor. Upon returning to the city, the guards welcome him with a warm and respectful greeting. The warrior is completely confused, not understanding what is happening there. At that moment, the guards kneel, and he receives the legacy title, Blade of the Dawn. The other players are shocked to see NPCs bowing to a player. Some think it's a VIP benefit, but no one would spend money on a warrior. The young man then remembers hearing about this title in his past life. In a flashback from 3 years ago, the world was covered by an eternal night. Monsters dominated the land, and civilization was on the brink of complete extinction. But a legendary human warrior emerged to bring hope to the dark world. He led the armies of all races in a final battle against the darkness. That nameless warrior raised his sword and became everyone's light of hope. Blade of the Dawn was one of the 8 legacy titles that existed in the game. The developers said these titles were very rare secret achievements, and now he has obtained one of the 8 titles right in the game's starting city. The guards welcome the Blade of the Dawn, and he finds it a surprise. One of the guards says his act of bravery moved all the city's residents. With that, the city's mayor invites him to a banquet, and a new quest appears. The captain of the guard offers to personally escort him to the mayor, but he refuses the offer and says he prefers to keep a low profile for now. From afar, the executioner watches everything and says he's just pretending to be nice. The group leader vows to catch him in an alley to get revenge for everything. One of the guys suggests they don't mess with the hero anymore because of his reputation, but the executioner gets angry and says that if they eliminate him, other players will respect them. One of the group members then asks if the leader already has a plan to defeat him. With a smile, he boasts about having more influence than anyone in that city. Suddenly, a guard stops him and warns that it's forbidden to draw weapons during the festival. The executioner tells the guard to relax, as they are just talking about business. But the guard warns that he's keeping an eye on him because he has a history as a malicious player. He thinks that every city has a dark side, and that the hero will regret this. The warrior then approaches the city hall to meet the mayor. He opens the office door and prepares to speak with the leader of Mill Town. From his desk, the mayor greets him with a cheerful voice and a smile on his face. The city leader stands up and thanks the young man for finally arriving. He holds the warrior's hand and says that the years-long nightmare is finally over. The hero remembers that his bravery saved the city and spared countless innocent lives. In his past life, the mayor was a serious NPC with no joy on his face. But now he looks healthier, and his personality is completely different. To honor his bravery, the mayor proposes building a golden statue in the square. With this, all visitors to Mel Town will know the legend of the city's hero. The mayor adds that everyone will feel the glow of the Blade of the Dawn. But the young man says that this is an empty honor and doesn't help other players. With a smile, he makes a counter proposal to the city leader right then and there. The mayor is surprised and says he can easily arrange for gold and titles for him. But the warrior suggests that the war funds be used for something more practical. His first proposal is to reduce taxes to encourage new adventurers in the city. The second is to strengthen security so that no threat can attack the place again. The mayor is impressed, as he has never seen a player who cares so much about others. He then agrees to the proposal and says he will issue the order immediately. With that, a regional and a global notice announce the tax reduction in the city. The players are shocked and celebrate the news of the tax reduction. The mayor gets emotional and says the young man brought true light to the city. As a personal thank you, he offers a golden key as a special gift. The key opens a 2-story house that now belongs to the hero forever. With this, he becomes the first player to own property in the entire game. In his past life, owning property in the game was an unattainable privilege. The scarcity of land was a fundamental rule of the game because of its AI. It wasn't like other games, where you could buy an entire street with real money. In this vast world, every inch of land already had an owner defined by the system. The territory could belong to a native tribe that lived in that region of the map, or it could be the lair of a super powerful monster that guarded valuable treasures. Because of this, normal players could only rent small areas temporarily. Not even the guilds that spent a fortune could get a territory for themselves, and they still ran the risk of losing everything if they couldn't defend what they had conquered. Having a private space so early was a huge advantage for storing items and researching. With the key in his hands, he thanks the mayor because he really liked the gift he received. The mayor says that having him live there is much more inspiring than a golden statue. With this, he gains teleportation, remote repair, and even a 15% discount. With a smile, he reads the final message that the dawn will always watch over him. Leaving City Hall, he walks through the now quieter city streets. With the mayor's discount, he thinks it's the perfect time to go to the market. But suddenly, a figure in red uses a pickpocketing skill on him. The system alerts him that he just lost 100 copper coins to the thief. The red, hooded figure celebrates after successfully grabbing his coin purse. Annoyed, the warrior demands that the crook return what was just taken from him. With a quick move, he manages to grab the thief's HUD before they can escape. The young man then sarcastically complains about being robbed in broad daylight in the city. Suddenly, a deep voice comes out of nowhere, yelling for them to stop right now. But the thief runs into an alley, trying to escape the hero who is in close pursuit. He catches up to her and says there's no point in running, since there's nowhere left to go. The woman reveals herself as Shalene, a level 6 elite rogue from the dark alley. Just then, several level 5 bandits appear, surrounding the protagonist from all sides. The hero remembers that Mel Town has a darker side, led by this very woman. The rogue calls him a smart kid and asks if he's a better player of the game. He thinks about how, in his past life, he was robbed by them more times than he can count. She then reveals that someone paid to have him eliminated, and he needs to be taken down right there. The warrior wonders who hired her, Paladin Baili or Rex the Executioner. With a serious look, he asks which of the 2 idiots wants him gone. The rogue smiles and says he already knows the answer, and that she doesn't need to spell it out. The young man concludes that the coward Rex doesn't have the guts to face him personally. Shalene says she's just an NPC, and that player squabbles are none of her business. With a cold gaze, she orders her goons to attack the warrior without holding back. The bandits then charge all at once toward the Dawn Blade, but the hero blocks all their attacks with his sword without any difficulty. The impact of the blow creates a shockwave that sends all the bandits flying. With just one move, he defeats all the goons, and they begin to vanish. Shalene is impressed by his strength and compliments him on being a good fighter. The former champion then asks if she wants to continue the fight against him. She says that robbing him isn't worth it, as she'd spend it all on healing her men. The rogue tells her men to fall back, as they don't stand a chance against the city's hero. With a headache, she complains that even NPCs have to worry about costs. She says she'll just tell Rex the target was too strong and they had to retreat. The young woman says goodbye and tells him to use her name if he goes for a drink in the dark alley, but the warrior stops her and asks her to wait a moment before she goes. She turns around and asks if he's not satisfied with her sparing him. With his hand outstretched, the young man demands his coin purse back immediately. The rogue laughs and says he's haggling with her, even after she spared him. With an irritated look, she says the money is the fee for having spared his life. The hero's eyes glow as he states that he earned that money through his own hard work. With a golden aura, he says that if she wants it, she'll have to earn it with her own effort. The rogue accepts the challenge and says the reward and the money will all be hers. With that, the woman charges with her shadow blade against the fearless warrior. Their swords clash in a flash of golden light that illuminates the entire alley. The hero manages to block her attack, but the force of the blow surprises him. With a smile, she warns him to be careful with his weapon's durability. He finds it strange because in his other life, Shailene was just a black market NPC. The woman taunts him, offering him money to buy a new weapon at the blacksmith's. The young man wonders why she's acting so dramatically now. Even if he has to fight with his bare hands, he's not giving up his money. With a clenched fist, the former champion declares he won't let her get away so easily. The alley leader finds it old-fashioned that he's trying to provoke her like that, but she says she's in a good mood and will join him for a hand-to-hand fight. She then orders her goons to give him a proper dark alley welcome. The remaining goons start shouting and cheering for their boss to win. The cheering continues as they shout that their leader's victory is certain. From the rooftops, the bandits' cheers echo throughout the dark alley. Taking advantage of the distraction, the rogue throws a dagger to test her opponent. She calls him slow and rushes toward him with incredible speed, but the Dawnblade's eyes are able to follow her movements. With a powerful kick, she lands a direct hit and asks him what he thought. The young man is surprised by her strength and thinks that this woman is different. With a focused gaze, he realizes she's not an ordinary NPC like he thought. Using his strength, he manages to throw her into the air and break free from the attack. The woman lands gracefully, and he concludes that she is indeed very strong. With that, the hero advances on her to continue the intense battle. Their fists collide, and he asks with a smile what she thinks of his punch. She barely dodges and compliments the young man's quick reflexes in the fight. She then attempts a counterattack, but the warrior is one step ahead. With a swift move, he manages to grab her fist and stop the blow. The rogue is completely shocked that he stopped her attack so easily. A purple energy begins to drain from her hand, and the warrior smiles. He then throws her to the ground and says their little game ends here. With an aura of golden lightning, he prepares to finish off the alley leader, but she finds it interesting and says that without a blade, she can't beat him quickly. The young man asks if it's worth continuing, as she'll lose more than she'll gain. The woman then seems to consider the proposal, carefully assessing the situation. Suddenly, she starts laughing and says he's a very funny guy. She says she's lost her good mood and has already forgotten what happened between them. The rogue tosses the purse back, as it's a waste of time she could be using to make money. The rogue says they're leaving and bids farewell to the handsome boy. With the purse in his hand, he thinks that woman is really very strange. Just then, the young man notices that the coin purse feels heavier than before. He then opens the bag and finds a strange, glowing object inside. The item looks like an eye, and a message says it's a gift from the alley leader. She says it's a welcome gift, which he finds quite creepy. Suddenly, the artifact in his hand begins to glow with a very bright light. The light completely envelops him, and the strange object starts to merge with him. With a hand to his face, he falls to his knees, feeling a sharp pain in his eye. The system reveals that he has obtained the Eye of True Sight, a legacy artifact. The warrior wasn't expecting a bonus item, and had never heard of it before. With a smile, he thinks that this version of the city is more interesting than the old one. With that, the young man finally arrives at the bustling city market. He then wonders if he can find anything good to buy there. A vendor announces that he's selling blackstone ore for 1 copper coin. The former champion approaches the stall, curious about the ore for sale. He knows this is the most common mineral in the game and is worth almost nothing. Basically, the ore is junk that nobody wants, not even for free in the game, but suddenly, his Eye of True Sight activates automatically. With his new ability, he can see a different stone among the others. That specific stone glows with a purple aura and seems to be special. His eye identifies it as a starlight stone, a very rare item. With a smile, he realizes the eye is overpowered and that he's found a treasure. He then decides to grab the item first, tossing a coin to the vendor. The vendor is happy and says that, of course, he's selling the stone to him. The man compliments him, but thinks the young man is a sucker for buying junk. As the hero walks away, the vendor celebrates his lucky day with the sale, but the warrior knows that he was the one who actually got the better end of this deal. The perfect starlight stone is hidden by a shell of common rock. He knows that selling it to an NPC would yield more than 100 copper coins, but if he grinds it into dust, it becomes a very valuable alchemy regent. In ERA, players have a lot of freedom to choose their professions in the game. These jobs are easy, and most players choose at least one. However, the young man knows there is one life profession that is an exception. Alchemy is difficult, expensive, and one mistake can get you eliminated right away. The system warns that you have eliminated yourself, and this is the alchemist's curse. The former champion then opens a screen to check the prices of alchemy products. A medium healing potion costs 10 copper coins and is limited to 1 per day. He calculates that the material cost is higher than the item's selling price, and with a 60% failure rate, the real cost is double the price. That's why most players don't get rich from potions, because they lose money. But he lived for 5 years in ERA and knows some secret potion recipes. The main ingredient is the Starlight Stone powder he just acquired. With the unexpected gain from Shailene, he has a chance to make a real fortune. From a distance, 2 players watch him and decide to copy him to profit as well. One of them says he saw him buy a black stone, so he bought one just like it. But the vendor convinced him to buy a whole bunch of stones instead of just one. The vendor wonders if he sold his ore too cheap to the Dawn Blade. Sitting on a bench, he buys the ingredients for 100 medium healing potions. With his hand, he crushes the stone and produces a perfect starlight powder to use. The other players think the black stone is an ingredient for a rare item. They then decide to copy the hero and do the same thing he is doing. With their hands, they crush their stones and only get common blackstone powder. The young man mixes leaf essence in a crystal vial to start the potion. Next, he adds the starlight stone powder to catalyze the effect. With the potion in hand, he walks toward the plaza fountain, but he's not done yet. The others think he's going to perform a ritual, as the fountain is perfect for it. But he thinks that what he actually needs is a little water from the fountain. He then adds the fountain water to the mixture, and the potion starts to bubble. The potion turns bright green, indicating that the process was a huge success. The system announces that he has successfully created a medium healing potion. With a smile, he notices the potion is identical to the one sold in the game's shops. The other players call him a potion forger because of his skill. He then continues the process, creating several healing potions one after another. He successfully produces 100 potions, and his alchemy proficiency increases. He thinks that his knowledge from the past can be turned into easy money. Other players approach and ask the price of his newly created potions. An hour later, he has already sold all the potions, and the others are shocked. By selling them for 1 copper cheaper than the shop, he managed to sell everything quickly. With that, his 100 copper coins turned into 1,000 in just 1 hour. The boss reward was multiplied by 10, and he had a very good day. The others realize his formula is secret and could break the game's economy. They decide to copy the recipe to profit before the developers fix it, but their potion turns into toxic sludge, and they wonder where they went wrong. One of them tries to convince himself it's a healing potion, just a different color. His friend then challenges him, telling him to drink the potion to prove it works. From a distance, the warrior sees a notification that the player Jabba has eliminated himself. A crowd forms, and people wonder what happened to the player. The young man knows that the alchemy curse gets anyone who messes with it without the recipe. He then decides to log out of the game to figure out how to handle all the money he made. With the trades made, he prepares to exit the game with his coin purse. The scene then shifts to the real world, showing the simple building where he lives. Now, in his room, he converted the copper into real money before logging out. Just then, a notification alerts him that 5 million yuan have arrived in his account. With a smile on his face, he thinks the transfer was much faster this time. But suddenly, the young man hears a strange noise coming from his living room. 3 men break in and demand the month's payment from his family. His mother says the deadline was at the end of the month, and it's still just the beginning. But the group's leader complains that he lost 1 million in the game and is very angry. He says he needs to take out his frustration to feel a little better. His mother begs for more time, saying they don't have the money right now. The aggressor then smiles and looks at the protagonist's younger sister in the room. One of his goons grabs the girl, completely frightening her. The mother despairs and shouts her daughter's name, which is Sixie. The guy says the girl is at a good age and could be worth a lot of money. He also asks where her useless son is, the one who only plays video games, and adds that he'd be worth more in parts if he wanted to do something useful. The aggressor then asks about the 1 million he lost in the game. Suddenly, the hero appears and asks if 1 million yuan is enough. The guy scoffs at him, but a transfer notification pops up on his phone. He thinks it's a fake, but his goon tells him to check his phone. With a cold look, the young man asks again if that amount is sufficient. His mother and sister are shocked and ask where he got so much money. The group leader tells his goons to check the phone to confirm the amount. One of them confirms it's a real 1 million, and the aggressor is in shock. The guy gets angry and grabs the young man by his shirt, calling him a gaming addict. He yells, asking how a player could have 1 million to just throw away. The protagonist says he's a loser and only makes money by playing video games. The aggressor is furious because he lost money in the same game the young man profited from. He says the million doesn't pay off the debt, but rather compensates for his personal loss. With a cold look, he realizes the guy is now trying to extort him. With a swift move, his hand flies toward the aggressor to stop him. The group leader is shocked by the young man's speed in grabbing his knife. The protagonist then says he's good at more things than just games. The aggressor cries out as the hero twists his arm, showing no mercy. With a smile, he confirms that he is the real Lin Jie, 100% genuine. The goons threaten him, but he steps on the leader's hand to intimidate them for good. The aggressor begs him to stop, saying his arm is going to break any second. With a furious look, the young man asks who he thinks he is to talk to his family like that. The guy feels a terrifying presence, as if he were staring at a demon. The hero asks if he still plans on exploiting his family. The aggressor says it's a misunderstanding and that they are leaving the house. The leader then asks his goons if they agree with that as well. With a threatening look, the young man tells them all to get out of his house right now. The aggressors then run out of the house, scared of what might happen. The protagonist watches the guys run away, while his family stares at him, confused. His sister shouts that if she sees them again, her brother will finish them for good. From a distance, the aggressors swear they will never return to that house again. His sister turns to him and asks for an explanation of what just happened. The young man plays dumb and asks what exactly he needs to explain. She insists, asking how a rich guy suddenly appeared in their family. With a cold sweat, he wonders how he's going to get out of this without worrying them. His sister crosses her arms and demands a full explanation about the money. With a smile, he thinks that being reborn is great, and his sister is alive and well. He remembers that in the past, his family fell into debt after his father's passing. Back then, the young man had to drop everything to carry the burden alone. He recalls looking for a job, but being rejected everywhere. For someone like him, it was almost impossible to get a decent job. But one day, he saw an ad for the game ERA that would change his life forever. The game promised an infinite world with countless fortunes for its players. The original reason he became a player was simply to earn money. In a flashback, he appears as a level 3 warrior in a city in the game. A party captain calls out to him, saying they need someone who isn't afraid of being defeated. He offers 2 copper coins for every exploration run he completes. The young man accepts the deal, thinking that every battle was a brush with demise. But as long as he survived, he would be paid for the mission he completed. One of his companions says his life is too hard for an ordinary player, but he adds that the young man always manages to survive until the end of the battles. The warrior of the past just smiles and wipes the grime from his face with his hand. The captain congratulates him and gives him an extra copper coin for the good work. The man then asks him to look after them from now on in future missions. From dancing with danger for so long, his skills became sharper. Over time, his combat techniques became more and more stable and precise. Later, he became the last survivor of his group and would solo the bosses. With his skills, he dreamed of being the strongest using only his technique. On the path to becoming the strongest, he encountered new challenges and friends. He wanted to be the strongest to earn money and protect those he loved. Later, he met a brother in arms with whom he shared his dreams. They promised to become the best in their classes and one day fight for real. With a friendly punch, they seal the deal to one day decide who is the strongest. With his fame and skill, he managed to get out of the crisis and help his family. But one day, a battle agent called him for a very important meeting. The man blackmailed him, saying he needed to lose the next match. The young man slams the table and asks why he can't win that match. He says he has what it takes to be the strongest and that this is his dream. If he wins the final fight, he gets 100 million and can cure his sister. With a desperate look, he yells, asking why on earth he should lose. The agent explains that the game is controlled by money and that he has to lose. Furthermore, his opponent would be his friend Baili, and he should do him a favor, but the warrior refuses to betray his promise because his friend knows everything. He believed that if he continued on that path, it was the right choice to make, but the agent warns him that if he refuses to lose, they will make him lose. The young man remembers that Baili came from a powerful family and always had opportunities. But for him, who came from nothing, a single fall meant eternal ruin. Suddenly, his phone rings and he answers, worried about his mother on the other end. His mother informs him that his sister's machines have failed and there's nothing more to be done. The agent also says that a man in black at the hospital told him to give up. Heartbroken, he cries as he remembers the loss of his sister in the past. Back in the present, his sister notices his tears and asks if he's crying. He plays it off, saying he's just too happy to cry, and pinches her cheek. His sister finds him strange and asks if he really won 1 million by playing a game. He explains that he opened a mystery box and sold an item for an absurd price. She gets excited and asks for the helmet to try her luck in the game too, but he forbids her, saying that minors can't play video games. The hero knows that everyone has their reasons for playing, some for glory, others for dreams. His reason is simple. He just wants to become the strongest of them all in the game. He thinks that people from the bottom trade their lives for money like monsters. And behind every miraculous survival, there's always a reason to live. But to be the strongest, he needs to buy a few things first. In the official Ari store, he sees a piece of equipment for 1 million yuan for sale. In his other life, he could barely afford gear that was 2 levels lower. But his old friend Baili used this top-tier equipment from the very beginning. The store owner recognizes him and asks if the entry-level model isn't good enough. The young man says he wants to upgrade to the top of the line Supreme Thunder model. The salesman is shocked and says that's for professional players. Suddenly, another customer says it would take him 10 years to pay for that. But the hero ignores him and says he'll pay in full for the equipment right there in the store. The salesman recognizes the young master Rex and compliments him on his choice of items. With a surprised look, the protagonist realizes he knows that annoying voice. Rex complains that he was tricked by the protagonist and some Lin Jie guy. He says if it weren't for his junk equipment, he would have crushed the hero in the game. With wide eyes, Rex is completely shocked to see who is there. The executioner asks why on earth Lin Jie is everywhere he goes. With a sarcastic smile, the young man asks if he wants to get beaten again. Rex boasts that Shalene couldn't take care of him inside the game, but he warns him that in the real world, he and his friends are the ones who call the shots. One of his goons says that line sounds very familiar from somewhere. Rex then says that in real life, there's no cheating, and 3 against 1 is a victory. The store owner begs them not to fight there, as it's hard to run a business. He even asks the hero to kneel and beg for forgiveness to avoid trouble. The protagonist says games are games, and that he planned to leave him alone. But Rex gets angry and says he's going to reclaim all the dignity he lost in the game. One of the goons complains that they lost a lot of time leveling up in the game. Enough talk. The executioner lunges with a knife to attack the former champion, but the hero's eyes glow with a blue light, and time seems to stand still. The movement of Rex and his friends becomes completely slow for the young man. 5 years of combat in ERA have sharpened his mind and his battle reflexes. With his quick reactions, the world seems to move in slow motion for him, and the same thing that happens in the game also happens to him in real life. Rex is shocked and asks how he can use cheats in real life too. With a precise punch, the protagonist hits the executioner square in the face. The blow is so strong that the guy is thrown back and collapses on the floor. Rex falls with his face all bruised and is completely out of the fight. The young man says you can't use cheats in real life like they think. He says he's in a hurry and tells the other 2 to come at him together, but the goons run away, saying they'll wait for the boss at the usual spot. With the aggressors out of the way, he can finally buy his equipment. The salesman is shocked that he made so much money just by playing the game. With his new equipment in hand, he says thanks and leaves the store, satisfied. Leaving the store, he finds a familiar figure standing outside. A guy with green hair watches him with a curious and slightly scared look. The young man asks why he didn't attack along with his friends in the store. The guy is speechless and can't answer the protagonist's question. Stuttering, he tries to say something, but the words won't come out of his mouth. Suddenly, he yells that he wants to get stronger, surprising the hero. With a curious look, the former champion just watches him in silence for a moment. The guy introduces himself as Hawk, a retribution paladin, and asks to be his disciple. With a determined look, he begs the Dawn Blade to accept him. The protagonist says he has no plans to accept disciples at the moment, but Hawk grabs him and asks him to listen to his story before refusing. He says the young man is a true powerhouse and that he realized something important. The paladin confesses that he chose his talent because he was afraid of fighting for real. He admits that he has always been a failure and hid behind empty effects. In a flashback, he remembers hiding while his friends fought. He wants to become truly stronger and be as powerful as the city's hero. But the young man says he doesn't plan on having disciples and thinks about what happened. With a smile, he says maybe one day, but for now, he doesn't want anyone. Hawk gets excited, realizing that he wasn't completely rejected with that answer. The young man says that the moment he faces his weakness, he already becomes stronger. He says that ERA is updating and that he'll keep an eye on him in the game. Hawk shouts that he will prove over time that he deserves to be his disciple. With the box in his hands, he realizes that fate is changing course in his new life.